Hey all of you, hope you guys are great. So this is where we left in the last video. In the last video we have learned that how we can build the basics global error handling. In this video we're going to make it more advanced and make it more global so we can catch different errors coming from our API. Like if someone's trying to create NFTs and they provide wrong information, we have to catch that. If someone's trying to find an NFT based on the URL, we have to catch that. If someone hit the wrong route which not exist in our server, we have to catch that. So there is a lot of ways error will come on our API. So all we have to do is to make our error handling model in a centralized place, and all the error will come into that place, and from there we're going to display the error status and error message. Okay, so I know this sounds complicated, but it will make sense. Just follow along with me. So here I'm going to give this command global error handle, okay, handling, and we have to follow the same structure. We're going to use this as a middleware app.use, and in earlier middleware we had access to 3 parameters like request, response and next, but when it's come to error in Express we have access to 4 parameters. One is error. In this I have access to all the error object, okay, all the property of error. I can easily able to access that, whether it's a status code, message, call stack. So all the thing I can easily able to access in this error object, and here I will have this request, response and next. So this is how we can define error module in our API. So what I can do, I can come here, I will send this request. Okay, so let me show you what I mean by it. Click here and go back to this NFT controller, click on this and scroll all the way down. Just go back to the codes. So here you can see these are the codes we have written, and you can see in each of these function, whether it's for get all NFT, create NFT, we have this error. Okay, this error response like status 200, and we have the fail message. Okay, all these error we are sending in each and every single function, and that's not a good practice to write the same code over and over again for every single function. Okay, so we have to catch all these error as well so we can display in our error model, global error model. Okay, so we're going to build the functionality for this. Okay, so we have the error dot status. So before I call that, let me show you. We have error, and in that I have access to this status. Okay, so whenever any error will come, I can easily able to I will easily able to get the status of that error. So I can say that error dot status, and if there is a status, then we can call file events. Okay, so if we have a status code for error, so we can take that code and define as a status code. But if we don't have any code for that error, we're going to display 500. Simple logic, simple JavaScript. Same thing we have to do is for this, let's say status, and we'll say error dot status. If we have a status, then we're going to display that. Otherwise we're going to display this error message, which is stand for internal server error. Okay, this one is a status code, not status. Okay, so if we have a status code, then display that. If we don't, then display 500. Simple logic. And why we have this bracket, so what I can do, I can simply come here and let's remove that. Okay, and now we'll come here, and here we're going to send the response back. So I'll say error status code, and we have this JSON, and here we're going to simply send the status. So we have this status to status error, where we have stored as a variable, and we're going to display the message. Okay, simple error dot message, in which we have the error message. I hope this part makes sense to all of you. We have taken a variable status code and that we are sending in this, so this becomes dynamic. So that's the simple one we have here, and this is the global, and this is what we have. So to catch an error in this our global one, we have to do a couple of things here in app.all. Okay, so let's comment this part. Okay, let me show you the another way. So what are we going to do, we're going to take a variable, just follow. Okay, so I'll define this new, and here we'll take this error. So whenever you want to throw an error, this is how we can do new error, and here in this we're going to pass the error message. Okay, so I'll say cut this and paste here. So this is my error message, and that I'm displaying the URL, and I'm saying that it's not it's not there in our servers. Okay, let's come here, take the status, and we can say fail, and we can take this status code is going to be 400. So this is the data we're going to pass into our global error handler. Okay, so that's the data we have here, and let's come here. Here we can easily able to receive, so simply copy this one, and here we have to call this next. Okay, and that's the global middleware, and here we have this request response. Okay, so these are the data we have. So this is will work. So let's come here, and I think we have to get this next, and we have to pass the error in it. Okay, So we have access of this next, and here we're going to pass the entire data. We're going to pass the error message, and we're going to pass the error message. Okay, so that's what we have here. So whenever any error will come, that portion, that middleware will run, and that will throw an error to our global error handling. Okay, so it's looking fine. Now let's come here and try to make a request. So right now you can see everything's looking fine because we have the right route, and you can see if I change this one and make it 3, if I make a request, you can see I get this custom error message: fail, can't find this URL on the server. Okay, so hope this makes sense to all of you, and no matter what request you make, if it's wrong, then it will catch and it will pass on to the global error handler. Okay, so you can see we have all the data, and this is also working fine. Okay, this is also fine, and now we have to just work around all of these. Okay, all of these. But before we move to that, I just want to show you something more. You can even customize this portion as well. So let's come here, and what we're going to do is we're going to click on this controller, and we're going to create a new file where we're going to handle all the error. Okay, so let's click on this. Let's come back to the utils. Okay, and here we're going to create a file. We'll call it app error.js. Okay, here we're going to create our error handle model, which will run for every single error coming on our API. Okay, so that's what we have here, and now we're going to follow this, let's say, class structure. Okay, class structure. Hope you guys are familiar with the JavaScript. Okay, so we're going to use this class app error, and I'm going to extend this from error. Okay, so we have access to this error, and in that we're going to take this constructor. In that we're going to pass the error message and the status code. Okay, so we have this message and we have this, let's say, status code, and I want to inherit the parent class. Okay, so the simplest way to do that is to use this super, and in that we want to access the message. Okay, so this is how we can do it. Simple JavaScript code. So this is nothing for the this is nothing for the API. We are just writing the simple JavaScript so we can use it for displaying our error. Okay, so now we have to use this. We'll say this dot status code. So this always refer to the current object, and we have the status code and this dot status. And here is the trick. So the status can be have two different codes. One it will have 400 and one it will have 500. Okay, so when the error is coming for 400, we have to display the fail message, but when the error is happening on status code 500, we have to display error. Okay, server error. Okay, so here we're going to use this method. We'll take this, let's say, template return. We'll say status code and status code, and if it start with is a function in JavaScript. Okay, so it will allow you to find the first alphabet or first number. Okay, so if it start with 400, that means it's a fail error, but if it start with something else, we have to say error message. Okay, so the simple JavaScript, hope makes sense. Okay, so these are the functions we have here. Everything's working fine. Now let's come down. We're going to use this is operational to true, and the reason why I have used this property is this operational is to true, because sometime what happened that sometime a error will be created by the user. So when someone try to create NFT, or maybe someone hitting the wrong route, or maybe they don't have access to a particular data, so this is that error become the operational one. Okay, so that's error is created by the user. So we have to display the message, but there would be a certain error which is created by ourselves, our program. So maybe we going to use couple of package, Express, MongoDB. So sometime what happened, the error will cause because of the MongoDB or server error. Okay, so those errors become the production errors. Okay, so we want to separate the error between the operational error and the like programming error. Okay, so that's the whole concept, and that's the entire logic we have for this. That's why I have taken this operational error for the user. Okay, so we'll come here. We're going to take this app dot capture stack trace, because I want to display that where the error exactly is happening. Okay, so that's why we are capturing that stack trace, and in that we're going to pass this simple this and this constructor. Okay, so this will give the entire data, and here we're going to simply export this app error, and now we can use this model wherever we want in our application, and this will generate the error. Let's close this one, and now we can back here in our app.js, and now we're going to utilize that. Okay, so I'm going to simply come here and I'm going to import that file. So const, I'll say app error, and that's coming from the utils, app error. So this is the function we have here, and now I'm going to utilize it. I will simply comment this out, and now I'm going to use that same app error class which we have created. So here we're going to call this next. In that we're going to use our app error. So new is the keyword and app error we're going to call, and in this we're going to pass this entire error message. So we'll pass the error message and we'll pass the status code, because that's what our app error receive. So we'll add the status codes to, let's say, 404. Okay, so whenever any error will happen in our API, this app error will trigger. It will set out all the messages and property, and it will pass on to the app, okay, our global error handler. So hope this makes sense to all of you guys. And now we can simply able to receive the data here. Okay, so let's come here. Before we do that, let's simply check this one. So if you make a request, you can see everything is working fine. We have the data, so our class is also working fine. If you do the right thing, you will have the exact data. If you do the changes in the source, you will get this error message. Status code is also defined. Okay, so this looks pretty good. Okay, this looks pretty good and it's working fine. Now let's come here and let me show you the call stack where the error is exactly is happening. So I will do console log this error dot stack. Okay, stack, and this will show me that where the error exactly is happening. Okay, so if I come here, if I save this one, and if I try to make a request with the wrong route, you can see this is the error we have here. And if I come back my terminal, you can see we have all this data. Can't find the route, and you can able to find where the exactly the problem is. Okay, you can able to find all these call stack. Okay, so that's how you can access the stack data for error. I'll simply comment out this, and we have all these function. Okay, we have all this function. So now we're going to refactor this as well. So let's come here and we're going to come into this controller, and we're going to create another controller for handling error, because we're going to add a lot of properties in our error handler controller, because we have to handle the operationals, productions. We have to add different things on the base of the security part. Okay, so we're going to create a different file. So we'll call it error controller.js, and in that we're going to simply come here and we're going to simply grab this piece of code, entire one till here, cut and come back and paste here. Okay, module dot exports, because this is the only thing we want to export from here, so that's why I'm doing module export. Okay, so we have this export, and now we can utilize this one. So that looks fine, everything. Let's come here and now we have to import that error controller. I'll call it global error handler, and that's coming from our controller error controller. So that's what we have. Copy and simply pass. This will work as it was working before. Okay, so let's come here and you can see everything's looking fine. We are back on track. No more error we have in our terminal. Let's bring this down, and that looks pretty good. And let's come back and let's try to make a request. Still it's working. We have no more error, no problem in our code. So if you make the right request, you will get the data. Okay, you can see all the data we have here. And that's the only thing I want to cover in this video. Hope you guys have found this video valuable, because I don't want to extend this video too long. In the next video, we're going to make it more robust system, and let me show you the other property and all the other error handling strategy which we have to tackle in the next video. Okay, so let's move to that.